the Tales of series has a massive problem. So, let's talk about it. For clarification, this comes entirely from a place of love for this series, because I do genuinely love it, and one of my biggest issues, aside from this, is solely, it is ridiculously hard to play some of these games. And I don't mean that in a, these games are difficult way. I mean, if you want to play something like Tales of the Abyss, you need to buy the game, which sells for around $200, and to buy a PlayStation 2 if you don't already have one. It's not a good system. But that's more of a game preservation issue than an issue of the series itself. Instead, the issue I'm talking about here is they have a tendency to ditch the combat systems. Generally, the Tales series has incredibly fun and fantastic combat systems, with exceptions, but there are genuinely fantastic combat systems, and the exceptions of ones that return are games like Tales of Symphonia, where there isn't really anything unique to it, and it's more so just, here is the very basics, compared to a game like Tales of the Abyss, which has, frankly, a combat system that I've never really seen in any game before or after it. Not even just in this series. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and explain it. Basically, by using arts, you create circles on the ground called Field of Phonon. Basically, if you match the right art and the right one, you can use special versions of that art with either a different elemental property or a different property entirely, which is different compared to if you use the art without Field of Phonon. Basically, it gives every art a built-in, more powerful variation that can only be used under certain circumstances. Or in some cases, literally the most powerful art in the game. It's a fantastic system that's surprisingly well balanced, especially if you consider most of the Field of Phonon variations of your arts are better in almost every conceivable way than their base form. But then there's balance of, do you want to use it or do you want to let an ally use it? For example, I rarely ever used Earth Circles because other party members had much better uses for them than I did, as I got a slightly better attack compared to literally the best heal I could ever possibly see in a game. Then compare that to Vesperia's Fatal Strike system, which is essentially a separate system that allows you to wear down one of 3 smaller health bars to kill the enemy instantly. However, they can only be whittled down by one specific type of art. Really fun system, which allows you to mostly focus on only using one type of art instead of all of them. Plus, it increases the rewards if you get it off. And it's well balanced because if you do it on a boss, it just acts as a very big attack. Essentially just letting you do a million mystic art instead. And of course, there's the really unique and weird system from Tales of Symphonia: Dawn of the New World, where you can essentially capture monsters and use them as Pokemon if you whittle them down and use the right attacks. You know, until you get literally a 3rd and 4th party member where you will proceed to never use them. But it's a cool idea, just not executed to its fullest. Which shows one of the biggest problems with abandoning combat systems by the next game. Because a lot of these combat systems are already really fun and unique in their own right, just need to be expanded. Again, look at Symphonia 2. A game with a fantastic combat system, barring you actually get to use it. Because I think it's a really cool idea and a really fun mechanic. But you just can't use it that often because it belongs to a game where you are going to have a full party either way. And a good workaround to this would just be adding a 5th party member slot that can only be accomplished by a monster. And then you can recruit some monsters. Or perhaps you can only recruit monsters during battle. So that way, essentially, you can still do that. It just doesn't make it so you're only using the party members. Because if you give a slot specific to those monsters, then you have a great workaround. Or my personal favorite combat system in the entire series, that of Tales of Graces. Essentially, there isn't a mana system, But free run uses stamina, and so does attacking. So essentially, you move around by constantly spamming dodge to sneak up on and attack enemies, and it's surprisingly fluid and really fun. Because while you still have full 360 movement, you are, in a way, locked to a grid. Because there is no reason to ever touch the free run button, because it will literally do more harm than it good. But because of that, you're granted with an incredibly smooth and incredibly fast combat engine that is still my favorite in the series. And if you're enjoying the video and would like to see more, please consider liking and subscribing, since it seriously helps with the channel a ton. And that's a small look at a few games in this series, and I didn't even fully touch their systems, since I didn't mention how skills are acquired in Vesperia, or how literally everything is acquired in Graces, through their weapon skill system and their title systems respectively. And the plethora of games I either didn't say anything on in this video or haven't played yet. This series has a fundamental great structure and a massive flaw of that structure, forcing them to ditch the best parts. Well, I think keeping it fresh is a really good idea, and I do like the differentiating gameplay styles. I don't think it would hurt to come back to some of the fan favorites every now and again, or at least make it so those engines are available elsewhere. One of the reasons I love Berseria as much as I do is because its combat engine takes slight bits from Graces, albeit with how the combat engines feel. In a way, it feels like Graces should have came after, but still. Basically, will I appreciate the freshness that new combat systems allow? I don't think it would hurt anyone if they decided to revisit some of the old combat systems and try them again. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to seeing the Field of Phonon system return, even if just for a single game. Because genuinely, what's the harm in trying to do a feature again that is beloved by the fans? Well, and that other glaring problem they decided to bring up. Because that's the core problem with the Tales of series. And frankly, that's surprising coming from a series that does Legacy so well. Hell, that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. If this video does well enough, I'll probably make it. But either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!